last week we made some big-ish plans for hitting the next little milestones on the different projects we have. I'm supposed to work on a new blog post, which I have done absolutely none of so far. And you were supposed to work on your next video. I saw that you actually did release something to YouTube a day or two ago, and it was this short little expression of frustration and paralysis and struggling to draw. And I think it's super cool that you did that, but it also sounds like you are struggling. Why are you struggling right now? Like what's up?
So, yeah, that video, I didn't record anything new for that video. It was all footage that I was going to throw out. So, but there's so many levels of weirdness to that video.
Yeah.
One is that I didn't I didn't think to make it. I just sat down and was procrastinating, and I think I was shifting footage around, like transferring it from my phone to my computer or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I saw that clip of me like throwing the books, and then I talked through this kind of monologue thing. It was actually like 30 minutes long, and it's horrible. And I was just gonna delete it, but I had saw it and I was like, I think I could make a little video out of that. And then I had probably 2 hours of footage that I did in the last, couple weeks or whatever, of me going through those art books. It was just one morning, I thought that was really important to do, to go through all these art books
Hmm.
and kinda analyze the pictures and whatever, and it seemed like this really big deal, but looking back, it was actually just me procrastinating. And so, I don't know, I sat down, and through this weird, like, 24 hours of me procrastinating, I made a video on procrastinating. And
Yeah.
I just there was also I was talking to our other brother, and I've actually been talking to quite a few people about these same subjects, but it seems to be this common thread through everyone that I talk to is just this general mentality of fear, just absolute terror for putting out something that has mistakes in it, or
Hmm.
bad lighting or bad audio, or it's not perfect enough or whatever. So when I made that last video, it's called I'm Afraid to Draw. That was my way of saying, "Look, everyone, I can make a video that has bad audio, it's horrible footage, or a lot of it is really bad. It's all, like, stuff I would typically scrap. It's just me, like, throwing stuff at the camera, and none of it like, all of it could have easily just been thrown away, or I could have not uploaded it, but
Hmm.
there was this sort of vengeance in my head of just, "Let me show you all how much you can get away with." And, I tried to include, like, as many mistakes and mess ups as I possibly could in the video. There's typos, the footage is upside down, none of it. I don't know, it's so reckless and such a mess, and it was also a way of me just playing around with the, um the mentality of, okay, the video before this was, I threw everything at it and I put a lot of effort into it. I was like, what happens if you go the complete opposite route where you just speed run this video in 24
Hmm.
hours and get it out? And it's just a joke and it's stupid. I'm making fun of myself and whatever. So if you take it at face value, I am struggling and I'm super procrastinating, and I'm perfectionist frozen. But in reality, it's not super what conducive. It doesn't represent my current brain state completely. It's not like this
Hmm.
narrative of where I'm at. It's an expression of that feeling at that time.
Okay.
And I've
That's
definitely
interesting.
felt like that on and off throughout this process.
Yeah.
You feel like procrastinating some days, whatever, but it's not representative of my overall narrative in life, I guess. Um, so I don't know, there's so many weird levels to it, and it's
Yeah.
just such a stupid little video. I just enjoyed making it. It's
I
fun.
mean, do you think it did it help you? Did it prove something to yourself, or make you change the way you think a little bit about putting things out there?
Yeah. Well, I had a couple takeaways from it. One was it gave me, I just spent 24 hours on it. It wasn't on the list of things for me to do. So this was totally extra. Um, so in terms of fulfillment, like did it fulfill me? I felt kind of weird about it because I can't check anything off a list. And
Yeah.
therefore, I can't really feel good about it because technically it was me procrastinating on my main goal. But at the same time, I sort of unlocked a new I type of footage on my channel, which is, I guess, stupid and reckless, I don't know. But I wanted to be able it was a good experiment, and I wanted to be
Yeah.
able to do that. So on some levels, it hits a couple little milestones or checklists of get something out really quick, don't overthink it, check. I got that.
Yeah.
Um so on that side, it felt good. On the other side, it was like when I uploaded it, there wasn't this feeling of, wow, I just uploaded a video. I'm super productive. It was, yeah, you still haven't done your main quest. You need to get back to work.
Yeah.
And so there was that feeling. I don't think it changed everything in my life. And I think that was kind of the point. It was like, just upload stuff. Who
Yeah.
cares? No one cares.
It's interesting to hear you describe it that way, as this reckless, don't care, lots of mistakes and everything, because it doesn't feel that way to me. That is not the impression I got when I watched it. I would, in my head, I did not assign it any lower quality or production value than the last one, which just makes it seem like the things that you are thinking about in terms of quality and effort and, making a great video may not really translate that much into the feeling that somebody gets when they watch it. I mean, to me, it was very off the cuff. It's rapid fire. It's like kind of jokey and goofy, but that's a style. That's, like a comedian is funny because they say a bunch of stuff that's like weird and, sometimes offensive on some level and dirty even, or can be like, it just, they don't have this clean polished product, and you can't if you're a comedian. That's not how comedy works. And
Yeah.
they're, at the peak of their genre, or, category, because that's what makes something good. Like, in, I'm not saying you're a comedian, but you are communicating with an audience. You're trying to give them ideas and share with them. To me, the quality is somewhat like the comedian thing, where polished and overthought does not mean you're a better communicator and you're better at connecting with people. So I did not get that impression at all with watching it.
Well, that's kind of exactly my point. Is that well, okay, so from the creator side, I look at this footage and I see me not being able to get out you know, a cohesive thought. So I'm sort of stuttering through things. I'm not being very clear. And this is
Mhm.
my uncut footage that I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, I didn't say what I really wanted to say. I'm awkward. I'm getting frustrated at the camera. I
Yeah.
I was not joking around when I threw those books at the camera. I was
Oh, I know.
upset. And that
We've
actually
all seen
happened at
you burn things
yes.
and throw things and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
I so I was getting and then besides just what I say, the shot itself just felt so awkward. It's really low and it's really far away. And it's kind of aimed at the ceiling. And it's just weirdly it's there's not good lighting, it's not good framing, it's just
Hmm.
bad. It's a bad shot. So there's that side of it too from, when I'm looking
Yep.
at it. And then also I was trying to use this new mic right here, this thing. And
Mm.
when I actually use
It's
it, the
like a
audio is
lapel
much
mic,
better.
or
Yeah, a lapel mic. It's supposed to get rid of some of the echoey stuff.
yeah.
Well, I'm wearing it in the video, and I thought I was using it, but it's off. And, so it's just recording out of the phone, which is all the way
Yeah.
across the room. So I have bad audio, bad framing, horrible lighting, awkward talking. So from the creator side, that's trash.
Yep.
Like, get rid of it. But from the audience side, it's like, if
Right.
you kind of flip it around and make fun of it, then who cares? And that's kind of the point I was sort of like literally just in my personal life trying to get across to Steven, our other brother, and some of my friends who have been talking about starting their own thing. It's like,
Hmm.
look what you can get away with. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoyed just making
Interesting.
that. Yeah.
Interesting. Um, Does that change anything for the the real video, the one coming up, or
So the real video, yeah, I am afraid of that one. I mean, I'm working on it. Like I have entered into the phase of where I actually question my own sanity. Where I start all these ideas just start flooding in. I start getting totally immersed in the story and I just get lost and I start writing down all these ideas. I go on walks and
Mhm.
it just flows out of me. And that doesn't mean they're good ideas. It doesn't mean they're
Yeah.
good or bad or whatever. It's just you can't stop thinking about it. And it's just I have entered into the absolute obsession phase. Now, that being said, I have hardly anything done for it. Um, I have not really started the video editing process because I still have to finish the final drawing, which is the thing I'm talking about not being able to do in that last video.
Mhm.
Um, so I have a lot to work on, but I have a 4-day weekend. I have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I think I can get some stuff done then. So I have hope. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm still terrified, but I'm
Okay.
excited too. So we'll
Good.
see.
Have you I feel like one thing that is very helpful in this type of cycle where you have a scary thing that you're trying to deal with is to try and pinpoint specifically what the scary things are. Usually it's something that has this unknown kind of fuzzy aura around it where you know you want to do the drawing, but there's like something about it where you're not sure, how it's going to look, or what, needs to be in there or something like that. Like, do you have a sense of those things at this point, or
That
no?
has been for the last like 3 weeks or month or something. I think it's been about 3 weeks. I have been stuck in that. I don't really know. I know there's sections of the story that are unclear, and I need to figure out
Yeah.
how to tell them. But I also feel yeah, so there's definitely all of these vague areas of the story that's kind of scaring me, and I'm not totally sure how I'm gonna tell it. You're doing this thing where you're trying to process the feedback from the last one, and then also think
Mhm.
about how to tell this new one, and then
Right.
how to finish this new one, and then how am I gonna time it, and when am I going to record it, and I still gotta finish the drawing portion of it, and there's a lot, and it's like, do I accept some of these other ones? Do I cut together the footage? Do I split the thing? Like there's so much that's
Mhm.
vague and unknown. Um, but I think I'm finally at a point where I need to just sit down for 4 days in a row and work on it.
Okay.
And just
Yeah.
just do the work. I'm at the point where I just need to do the work.
Yeah.
Um, and
Okay.
then
Well,
as those things come up, I'll just keep knocking them out, I guess.
right.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, one kind of thought process that I've been thinking about, like in the sense of trying to identify good thought patterns versus bad ones, for me, has been where if I have a problem that is fuzzy, like right now I'm trying to design this little panel thing for my nutrition app where you can like kind of quickly punch in, the like if you don't want to log food exactly, you just want to say, I ate 500 calories and I think 20% was protein and this much was fat and carbs. You just want like a really quick way of putting that in. I'm trying to design an interface for that. And I had these ideas where I wanted to make this kind of unique like interface that I'd never seen really, where you could like drag these boxes and they just like change the ratios as you move your finger around. Anyway, I'm like struggling with a couple parts where I can't quite figure out how to get the labeling to be clear and all the different modes of how you're using it. And as I was trying to work through that today, one thing that I found pretty helpful was to one, like identify specifically what my problem is. Like, what is it that about this design that isn't working? And the specific thing that was hitting me was under normal circumstances, this works fine. But if you push the slider all the way to the end, where like the protein box is like collapsed to nothing, the label overflows the box. And I know it's hard to visualize with me just describing it, but it doesn't really matter that much. That was the problem. Like this thing, I can't figure out how to make this look right. And so I at least like had something carved out, like this is what I have to solve. I think this is the only real hang up. The rest works fine. And so that's my issue. And then in trying to think about it, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix it. And I started this process of like trying to just, without thinking too hard about what is the best solution or what is going to work, just trying to identify all of the options that I have. Like, can I come up with half a dozen ways of solving this problem? So, one answer is that I put the labels outside the box and now it's not going to overlap. Or the other is that when you swipe it far enough, it puts a little dash that, shows you which box the label is pointing to. You could have it where the label is carved out by a different thing. Anyway, it felt pretty good to me, like to just dispassionately try and identify all the possible answers and then get into
Mhm.
this mode of, okay, now let's try and figure out what does work the best. And if nothing works, then I need to go up a bit higher and rethink, some of the higher level choices of the design. But that was a pretty nice like cycle for me, and I kind of liked that thought pattern.
That is exactly that mode of thinking has been driving everything I've done in the
Mm,
last 5, 6 months or however long it's been. This taking every idea and running it out to the end and just following it through instead of shutting them down.
yeah.
So the way I've been able, because I'm not a writer, like, I haven't written stuff before.
Mhm.
I If you remember years ago, I did that little 2-minute challenge where I tried to write,
Yeah.
and it was horrendous. I mean, it was kind of fun, but it was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And what's sort of allowing me to write now, not that it's like objectively good or bad, but this ability to get ideas out is that exact method of I will start I'll just open up a document and start writing about the story. And as soon as some sort of vague question comes up of what does he do next? It's like instead of sitting there until you come up with the perfect solution, you
Mhm.
sit there and you write down every single thing that comes to mind and you just keep going and going and going and you play out every single scenario and anything that pops up in your head. Usually it's your subconscious like passing up a note. Like, here's this thing. Um, and you write it down and it doesn't make any sense at the time. And then you keep writing, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
it just makes everything line up and it's the answer. It's the weirdest thing. But you take all of these ideas and then you just follow them through all the way to the end. And it's a method that I never did before. I always just sat there until I came up with the right solution. But when you're just practicing following all of these things through, it's like your brain just keeps processing and processing and it keeps moving and there's no judgment. You train
Yeah.
yourself not to shut down these ideas. And so even with drawing, instead of sitting there thinking, "Oh, what's the perfect thing to draw or what's the, perfect right way to do it?" It's I'll draw it this way and I'll draw it that way and I'll draw it that way and that way. And if you're stuck between is it A or is it B? Like which design is the best one? You run both of them out to the end. And then you might find that, oh, they're actually separate characters. They're not variations on one character. And that happened um, a couple sketches ago. Or a couple stories ago or whatever. I remember there was this one character and I couldn't figure out if I wanted it to be I think it was literally if I wanted it to be good or bad. And I was like, "Okay, I'll just play around with both. Let's see what happens."
Yeah.
And they just started going in these totally different directions. And then it's, "Oh, no, you're the evil one, and then there's also a good one." It seems like common
Mhm.
sense now, but at the time I was so stuck, and then I just followed it through. So yes, totally agree.
There's one thing kind of along those lines that I've been noticing with conversations with like other people, other software developers and whatever. Um, I've noticed there is this point in a relationship with somebody else, like in at least like in the context that I'm thinking about, like with somebody who's an engineer and we talk about technical things. There's a point you can get to that I think is a really great place to be, is when you have this sort of mutual respect and you're able to talk about something and like explore ideas or learn about something with a lot of honesty around what you know and don't know. So if someone says, "Oh, I was thinking about using this, or integrating this, piece of tech," and the other person's like, "What is that? I've never heard of that before. How does that work?" Or just is like completely unafraid of asking stupid questions about all kinds of things, like, "Oh, I've never even heard of this thing." It feels extremely healthy. Like you just have this very honest way of exploring information. Whereas often early when you're first meeting someone, it's very, I mean, I think this is a great goal, but it's very difficult to actually behave that way. There's always this strong incentive or feeling like you want to give the impression that you know what you're talking about and you're, well versed in all of these things. And so you often kind of have this air or just this strong desire to always appear like you really, know what's what. And it's difficult to just very openly and plainly be like, well, I don't know what that is. How does that work? Or whatever. Um, but I think that that is a kind of dialogue or thing that happens in your own mind where you're trying to explore this space, this design space of ideas for, art and story and everything. And there's often this feeling of like, oh, we could do this, but that's dumb. That's not good. Like, I don't even want to entertain that. I need good ideas. I need to be a good writer. Like, there is this identity thing that expresses itself even in your own head, never mind talking to another human. And if you can get to the point where you're comfortable with yourself, where you kind of trust that like we can get to a good design eventually, and that's not an easy thing, but I think if you are there, then you can be much freer about just exploring things without the judgment, where you could just take a stupid idea and chase it down, because why not? Who cares? You're not building your self-image around this dumb idea. You're just going to chase it down, and maybe it leads to something cool and maybe it doesn't. But I don't know. It's just something I kind of like have been feeling a little bit in my own life.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly right. If you think about it as a relationship with your own brain,
Yeah.
or with your own artist child self,
I mean, it's silly, but I
it's
do really like that framing of things. I think it makes a lot of sense.
well, what, yeah, that whole subconscious handing you a note from the depths of your brain and
Yeah.
you opening it up and it not making any sense at the time. I feel like as adults, especially, we take those notes and we throw them away because they don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I have been learning, and I wish I could just I wish I could show you how much this happens now. But I get these notes from the subconscious that make no sense. And instead of shutting them down through the whole, morning pages artist way thing, I've kind of gotten to this point where you stop
Yeah.
using that censor of, no, that's stupid. I'm throwing that idea out. It's okay, that is stupid, but I'm going to set it to the side and see what happens. And 99 times out of 100, I am absolutely rewarded by that somehow further down the line. And I never know how, but it always turns out in that way.
Hmm.
Maybe not always, but it's like the ones that haven't turned out, I feel like they will turn out. I don't even know how to describe it. But so David Lynch, I was listening to this interview. It was kind of years ago. I think it might have been 2 years ago. And I don't remember the exact wordage, and I haven't seen the movie in a while. But he says for, was it American Beauty? No, that's not the one he made. Blue Velvet. For the movie Blue Velvet that he made, he said, someone asked like, Where did the idea for the movie come from? And I don't know if you've ever seen it. Very strange. He said, "Well, I had this memory or something. It was green grass, tomatoes, and a severed ear." Like I can't remember if it was tomatoes or not, but anyway, it was something like that. It was
Yeah.
fresh cut grass, tomatoes, and a severed ear. And he listed those 3 things, and he had no idea what the story was, but he followed them through, and it turned into Blue Velvet, the movie, which is a huge classic. And if you watch it, he takes these tiny little ideas that from the subconscious, those little notes from the subconscious that
Hmm.
made no sense at the time, and he followed them through, and it turns into this crazy story. And in, uh that's what's happening in all these stories that I'm writing is, I need to get better at writing, but I have these crazy ideas that make no sense. And like I did these thumbnails, and every single time I pull one out and I look at it, they don't make sense. It's like this can't turn into something. And then it does. It's the weirdest thing. It's it's crazy. And
That's cool.
I wish everyone could experience that. Yeah. But it, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
When I heard David Lynch mention that like 2 years ago, I did
yeah,
not get it. I thought, "Wow, what a weirdo. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm glad that he can do that."
yeah.
But now it's like I'm feeling this. And so it when I say like I've reached the obsessive stage, it's like every thought that comes up, I'm treating as being extremely important. So if any weird visual idea shows up in my head, I have to write it down.
Mhm.
I have to treat it like it's important. And so it's totally overwhelming because there is no filter to block out any idea because any idea is possibly the most important idea, you know? So you're just like, it's just endless. Like it's just overflowing the amount of ideas.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, anyway.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have to show us. And
I mean, the way he puts it is that, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but um, he says the chef never creates the fish. The chef cooks the fish. So you don't create ideas, you just find them. They just
Mhm.
come to you fully
I
formed.
think I've heard that from him or
Yeah,
something.
he's
Yeah.
I've probably sent it to you before or said it or
Yeah.
whatever, but, um, so the chef doesn't make the fish, they cook the
Mhm.
fish. Now, you have full opportunity to totally screw up the cooking of the fish. And there are certain things in my last, couple videos or whatever, where I feel like I overcooked the fish or I prepared it wrong or whatever. Like, it was
Yeah.
a good idea that I didn't follow through with and I didn't cook correctly, but the idea itself was there. And so that's why it's so important for you to develop skills and to get better
Mhm.
is to be able to take the fish and cook it better. So you have a better or a higher percentage of bringing the uncooked to a well-cooked fish and
Yeah.
a good cooked meal or
No,
whatever.
I
So
like that visual or idea because it implies everyone knows that fish can be good. Some people hate fish, so maybe this doesn't work for them, but generally
most
you can have really good fish. You just have to figure out how to cook it. So that feels like a very doable task. People, you can learn how and eventually get good. It'll probably take some practice, but you can get really good and then you can make really good fish. And that's the dream.
sometimes the fish are like these crazy rainbow exotic fish or something, and you've never seen them before. It's like an alien fish, and you just have no idea how to cook it. And so it's
Sure.
like, yeah. Anyway, okay, we can end it there. I could literally ramble about this stuff for like 10 more hours, but yeah.
Cool. Well, it's late. You got to go to bed. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you can remember more next week.
Okay.
So cool. And also, when is our deadline for blog post
June
video?
25th. June
June
25th.
25th. Wow, that's a little bit sooner than I was thinking. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Good luck. I guess that'll kind of be what we'll be close to the deadline next time we talk. So, uh,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
scared.
see how it's going. Cool. Okay, good. Me too.
All right,
All
bye.
right. Bye.